So obviously, spoilers, because we're talking John Wick 4. Yes, after continuously topping itself, fight scene to fight scene, John Wick Chapter 3 really throws down the gauntlet by setting up a fourth film. Where can the dynamic duo of Keanu Reeves and Chad Stahelski, who started out together on The Matrix with Stahelski as Keanu Reeves' stunt double, where can they possibly go next with this franchise? Well, I have some ideas, which I'm about to share with you, and I'm excited to hear your own ideas for a fourth chapter down below, including any ideas that you might have, suggestions for new weapons and locations for the fight sequences, because it's hard to imagine where you can go next after horses as weapons. I loved that. And also libraries. All right, so idea number one, John Wick's backstory. We finally get a tease of John Wick's origin, and perhaps someday when Keanu is finally done with the role, they can do an origin movie. But thankfully, delightfully, Keanu Reeves is all in for a while, he's said. So while we don't need to go back in time, I don't even want to have flashbacks, to be honest with you. That didn't work out so well in Pirates of the Caribbean. But we now know that John Wick has a history, and history has a way of haunting you, especially if you're a movie character. So we know he's from Belarus, right? Let's hear it for us Eastern Europeans. I have to say I had a bit of pride when that was revealed in the film. And while Angelica Houston did race in Black Widow style, that doesn't mean he doesn't necessarily have a mother or a father somewhere, or maybe even a sibling. And he not a twin though, we don't want to go Gemini man. And he definitely has former instructors and classmates. Let's bring some of those into the story, and maybe even into the fight. All right, so number two, on that note, a better opponent. For 3 movies now, John Wick has had no equal. It's made him a legend, complete with fans. Love that stuff with Mark Dacascos. But surely the high table has someone better they've been holding back for special situations. There's got to be somebody better, right? I mean, or else John Wick would have been maybe promoted to the top person for the high table. The high table has tried to negotiate with Kate Asia Dillon, but now it might be time for no more carrot and a little more stick, although Dillon did have a lot of stick too. Okay, so John Wick has been challenged, right? He's certainly been challenged. He's been nervous. He's a cautious guy, which is why we like him. You know, well, I think maybe to some degree he is a Gary Stu, but he doesn't act like a Gary Stu, and that makes a big difference. I think in part, as we've discussed, that's what kind of sometimes saves Daisy Ridley's performance is right. The character is a Mary Sue, but since she's so earnest in her performance, sometimes it's not annoying. Sometimes it is though. But with John Wick, let's scare him. All right, number 3, level up on the guest stars. See, John Wick fights so many people that there are so many great opportunities to bring in cast members. And as we've discussed before with the logistics of shooting a movie, if someone's only in 1 or 2 scenes, it's less of a commitment for them. So you can get bigger names because they don't have to sign on. They can do it, like basically they can do your movie very quickly, yet still seem like a big part of it. Like Halle Berry, to her credit, did a lot of training for this movie, so it was a time-intensive commitment. But as for actual shooting, it certainly wasn't the level of what Keanu Reeves had to agree, or has agreed to do for 3 films now. And side note, I've been seeing some people say that maybe it would be great to bring everyone back from the previous films who's still alive for John Wick 4 and have them assemble Avengers style. But I have to say, I would only be okay with that if they assembled against John Wick, because I like John Wick as a loner who only occasionally has a friend here and there. Because as you might recall, even Halle Berry doesn't like him very much. And I like that animosity between the two of them. I mean, if John Wick had a whole lot of friends, he wouldn't need his dog as badly as he does. We're going to talk about dogs, don't worry. All right, so speaking of Halle Berry, she's by far and away the biggest John Wick guest star yet. But considering the franchise's momentum, there's legit Oscar talk, right? Halle Berry, also an Oscar winner, perhaps that's helpful. So let's level up in the next movie. I'm not just talking about my suggestion of Uma Thurman in my non-spoiler review, but I want Uma Thurman. I've seen some people suggest Jackie Chan, Charlize Theron, because she worked with David Leitch on Atomic Blonde, who of course co-directed the first movie and is still a producer. How about Jean-Claude Van Damme, right? Or as many people are also saying, where the heck is Carrie Ann Moss? I mean, is this a Matrix party or not? But I think we could even think a little bit more outside the box, or inside the box specifically, and that's with, say, Maisie Williams or even Gwendolyn Christie. I mean, after so many people have turned on Game of Thrones Season 8, I'm sure that they would both love to quickly move to a new franchise that's still super fresh. I was disappointed to see John Wick Chapter 3 slip out of the 90s on Rotten Tomatoes. What's wrong with some people? That was really a sad thing to see. But for the most part, people are loving it. So far, it's really overperforming at the box office. And so get that Game of Thrones stink off you. Sorry, it has a little bit of a stink, I'm afraid. And have the announcement that you're going to be in the next John Wick. That would be huge, I think, particularly for Maisie Williams. Gwendolyn Christie already kind of had her chance with Star Wars. Boy, did she mess it up. I mean, it's like, how quickly did she give over the station plans, right? But Maisie Williams, I think that would be exciting. Maybe Braun can make an introduction. And speaking of guest stars, number 4 is the legacy of The Raid. John Wick might be all the rage today, but for really hardcore film fans, The Raid was the big fight franchise before this, which is why Keanu respectfully allows, and I'm going to try and pronounce their names because I want to be respectful too and not just call them the Raid guys, but Yayan Rian and Sesop Arif Rahman. Well, that's why Keanu allows them to live at the end of their fight in this movie. So I not only want a rematch, you don't just let them live and not bring them back, and I think that's probably why they let them live, partially, but I want to see them bring in Raid star Iko Uwais into the next fight. Who still hasn't gotten a Hollywood fight scene worthy of him, by the way. I appreciate that he got to co-star with Mark Wahlberg. That movie was a lot of fun. It was super over the top. That was kind of its thing. But I think Iko Uwais deserves even better. And I want to see the scene, by the way, the rematch, take place in their native Indonesia, where the Raid movies were all made. And Raid director Gareth Evans, who interestingly isn't from Indonesia, but for those of you who aren't aware, went there because that was an easier place. He was having trouble getting his film career off the ground. I think he's from England or, maybe Wales, it might actually be. But Gareth Evans went to Indonesia, made these amazing movies, and unfortunately, he hasn't really done much else either. He made a horrible Dan Stevens Netflix movie. Anyway, with The Raid 2, which was very Nolan-esque, by the way, Gareth Evans proved that Indonesia is more than ready for its Hollywood close-up, and the Raid movies deserve to be spotlighted even more so than they are in John Wick 3. I think that John Wick 3 is a nod to the Raid movies. I want a spotlight with Iko Uwais, those Ruyan and Rahman returning, and I want the scene in Indonesia. That would be so great. You can even have Gareth Evans maybe do a walk-on cameo. Like, that would be great. Or sitting with Chad Stahelski, like in a bar. That would be so much fun. Finally, let's hit more than one foreign country this time in addition to Indonesia. So number 5 is farewell, New York City. And it pains me to say it because I'm a New Yorker. I particularly enjoyed seeing this beautiful city spotlighted for all of John Wick's adventures through 3 films and given a stunning neon makeover, by the way, by Chad Stahelski and his team. But after 3 movies, they've covered every inch of New York City, and it's time to move on. I know that John Wick and Lawrence Fishburne's character have just teamed up to take on the High Table, but sadly, there are homeless people all over the world, and I'm sure Lawrence Fishburne's network can extend to other cities. And the High Table is clearly not in New York. I don't think it's in Morocco either. I think that guy from Wonder Woman, right? Said Talahuyi, I believe is his, I totally butchered that one. But I think he was just like maybe even above the High Table. Maybe the High Table has moving members and they occasionally assemble in one place. So if you want someone to assemble. But anyway, I don't think it would happen in New York or Morocco. So let's choose at least, it could happen in Indonesia, but let's make Indonesia the focus of the Raid sequence. So let's have at least one additional city, again, outside of Indonesia. Plus, you know what that means? More continentals to visit. I love that part, especially after the Morocco continental. For some reason, I think the Rome one seemed too much like New York, but I thought that the Moroccan continental had very much its own personality, but yet still seemed like a continental. So Mission Impossible Fallout already blanketed Paris good, but you can never have too much Paris. Berlin also has a really unique aesthetic, and India could be stunning. While Brazil, of course, has developed its own form of martial arts, very popular in Hollywood. Halle Berry even has a little bit of experience with it, right? And if you like neon, well, duh, you gotta go to Japan. So I think maybe even a world tour. I especially think after its box office is kind of like going to take a huge jump with the 3rd chapter, they could afford a couple of foreign cities. Although how many John Wicks are they planning to make? It's pretty interesting. I think maybe they might even have 2 more left in them, but I don't know if I'd count on that. Let's really go all out with 4 and really take things to the next level, guest stars and locations wise, etc. Now, finally, as promised, I have a little bit of an add-on. I'm cheating a little bit. I have an asterisk to my top 5 ideas. And that's something to do with dogs, because dogs have become such an important part of the John Wick mythology. And as I said in my non-spoiler review, I really came to finally understand why they're so important to these assassins. They're the only pure kindness and loyalty they experience. I mean, not only John Wick, but also Halle Berry would die for her dogs. That's saying something. So with the 4th film, I think they should have a tie-in with a charity or some sort of organization to call attention to animal care, right? And the importance of adopting dogs from shelters. I mean, heck, in the 1st film, John Wick, because he lost the original dog, the famous dog at this point. But he saved a dog from being put down at the end of the 1st film. I think that would be a wonderful addition, not only highlighting that part of the John Wick mythology, but for the franchise's legacy, to really do something nice for dogs. I mean, if John Wick tells you to adopt from a shelter, you're going to adopt from a shelter. Just imagine the posters. And Keanu's just so lovable. Keanu and a puppy in an ad, done. It's a gift to humanity. All right, so those are my top 5 ideas, and then some, for John Wick Chapter 4. I'm very excited to hear your thoughts down below. And of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.